U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance stunned audience members at the Munich Security Conference today, beginning his speech with attacks on European leaders, accusing them of suppressing free speech.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
It was expected that the vice president's speech would focus on ending the Russia-Ukraine war as Vance met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy today. For more on this, I'm joined by the president of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Alexandra Chichi. Welcome to the program. You just heard those comments from J.D. Vance where we were expecting him to talk about an end to the conflict, and instead he's saying, hey, it isn't Russia you should be worried about, it's yourselves. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I think it's a completely bogus argument to argue that suppression of openly fascist parties is somehow wrong or incorrect is, I think, taking the interpretation of free speech to a limit that it has never been taken to before. But this is consistent with the Trump administration just sowing chaos all over the place. They say ridiculous things that they later walk back. They try arguments out for size. And, certainly Canadians have experienced that over the past month.
To that end, there was, as I understand it, only one reference to Ukraine in that whole speech that so many people imagined would be primarily about Ukraine. What does the absence tell you?
Well, I guess the one comfort that I think we take from Vance's public statements lately is that he is at least moved away from the position that he took prior to becoming vice president, where he said he really didn't give a damn what happened to Ukraine. I think the Trump administration is engaging in some form of negotiation with Ukraine, although we can question the bona fides of those efforts. I think that the open and obvious appeasement of President Trump with Putin is embarrassing. It shows a weakness, perhaps, and certainly reveals Trump not to be the master of the art of the deal that he purports to be.
Yes, because of course the two had this rather lengthy phone call this week where they talked about Ukraine, although also about a variety of other issues. Obviously, that's in very sharp contrast to the previous U.S. policy of isolating Russia. What do you see as the significance of that call?
I think it has raised doubt about, as I said, the bona fides of President Trump in claiming that he wants to negotiate a peace deal. There are concerns that he's already cut a deal and that he's going through the motions, because why else would one concede every single negotiating point that you have? He's equating the victim with the perpetrator. He is shutting the door on Ukraine's accession into NATO. He's suggesting that Russia be let back into the G7 or the G8. He's infuriated European allies who are probably as afraid of this positioning by the Americans as the Ukrainians are.
Mm-hmm. Zelenskyy is reported to have said, I believe today, Trump is stronger than Putin, I think so, but these phone calls with Putin are risky. What do you make of that assessment? And I wonder also about how much of that is also like an effort to appeal to Trump and those around him.
President Zelenskyy is in a very difficult position. We know that previously he was blamed for Trump's impeachment when, the details of the conversation that he had with President Zelenskyy, where he held him up to ransom, demanding that Zelenskyy deal with, Trump's rivals. So I think President Zelenskyy has learned a very difficult diplomatic lesson. And let's face it, not only Ukraine, but Europe and Canada certainly have, to a large extent, been reliant on U.S. military support. And to see that disintegrating, I think is terrifying for all of us.
So what do you see as the best possible path forward, given everything that has been said and everything that has happened in the past week?
Well, I think that ultimately Putin will disappoint Trump. I think Putin will remain true to character. He has never abided by any treaty that he has signed with anyone. He's violated every ceasefire that he's ever agreed to. And I think that at some point we will look to the bipartisan support in the United States for Ukraine, and that, the American people will stand up and demand that President Trump behave in a principled fashion, if that's possible. The Trump administration is feeling very powerful now, but we are looking ahead to the midterm elections. There will be some political accountability, and we hope and pray that the good people of the United States hold him to account.
And what about Canada, which is obviously consumed with another aspect of Donald Trump's plans, the threat of tariffs here. Also, there is the political change that is underway with, the Prime Minister on his way out the door. What could Canada be doing right now, given all of the other things that are consuming the attention of Canadians and the Canadian government?
Well, I think that this week or the past month has taught Canada and Europe that we can no longer rely on the Americans as a good and reliable ally, and that we must prepare ourselves both economically and militarily. In this past month, we've seen an incredible resurgence of Canadian pride when, President Trump attacked us, attacked our prime minister, suggested that we were going to become the 51st state. And, Canada is, to a small extent, experiencing what Ukraine has been feeling for the last 3 to 10 years. The difference being that we are going to pay with our wallets, but Ukrainians are paying with their lives.
Thank you very much for taking the time to give us your insights and have this conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's President of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Alexandra Chichi.